despite their vast size, they were very, very lightly constructed and beautifully engineered for flight. Very, very small adjustments on their large wings would take advantage of updrafts from the air, and that's what kept them airborne.
From a pterosaur's aerial view, great changes were shaping the land below them. Australia and Antarctica split away from South America, but the South Pole of the Cretaceous was very different from the one we know today. Jim Kirkland reveals why.
Because of high levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, there was extreme global warming, making the South Polar regions warm and moist.
Into the South Pole's long, dark winters, free from ice thanks to warm currents, comes a unique breed of dinosaur, as Walking with Dinosaurs continues.
A few hundred miles from the South Pole, a ray of sunlight pierces the dark for the first time in 2 months. Now, a new creature would inherit the Earth.
This has been a presentation of the Discovery Channel and the BBC World Class Television. Whether you're looking for the latest science headlines or searching the solar system, there's only one place online that has it all. Animals, weather, forensics, whatever you want to explore, just click discovery.com and experience something new every day.
On this edition of Justice Files, clever schemes designed to take money right out of your pocket. Miami, Florida, 1998. Men and women who think they're paying their bills. Without knowing it, they've just given a crook a blank check.
How many checks did you steal a day?
Well, between, I'd say, the 30th of the month and the 1st of the month, sometimes you can steal up to 100 checks.
Florida, 1998. Robbers who steal your money without ever setting foot inside a bank.
In a half an hour, you can have $600 in your pocket.
They work your local ATM.
It was a little over $6,600. They emptied all my accounts.
New York, 1997. It's an investigation into the black market for prescription drugs. Pharmacists buying drugs off the street and bilking consumers.
Can you tell us, why were you buying drugs off the street to sell to your customers?
I have no idea.
You think that's fair to your customers?
New York, 1998. It's a new kind of holdup. Crooks are saying, stick 'em up to banks in cyberspace.
This is the high-tech version of the old mafia protection game. I won't break your legs if you pay me. I won't shut down your systems if you pay me.
Join our look at crimes that cost you money, and Professor Arthur Miller of the Harvard Law School looks at scam artists and their victims when we open the Justice Files. Hello, I'm Jay Shadler. Our first story from 1998 looks at a simple but clever scheme called check washing. A crook who steals one of your checks has figured out a way to get straight into your account.
What you're looking at is check washing up close. Watch as this check is dipped into a common household chemical. The handwriting lifts right off the check. In moments, a thief has a blank check ready to rewrite for hundreds or even thousands of dollars.
Had you ever heard of check washing before?
No, not ever. Never dreamed of such a thing.
It happened last year to Patricia Reed of Miami. She noticed on her bank statement that 4 checks came back that had clearly been altered.
I had written Sears a $13.72 check, and that check came up as having been written $730. Not my handwriting or anything.
Written to somebody you didn't know for an amount you hadn't written out.
Right.
As you know, this is a very significant investigation.
Mark Gray is the postal inspector in charge of South Florida. He and Inspector Rafael Rivera have been chasing check washers for almost 4 years. They told of the damage done by just one gang.
How many people did they victimize?
175 we've been able to determine.
And how much money did they make? How much did they cash checks for?
We've totaled over $650,000.
Wow.
Yes. Wow.
It's a scam across the country. In Las Vegas, police have arrested dozens of gangs that wash checks and then cash them in casinos. In Omaha, a woman has been charged for running a ring that stole more than $20,000. Authorities estimate that nationwide, check washing could be up to a $2 billion a year operation.
Well, I'm amazed everybody ain't doing it.
Olin Singletary knows all about check washing. We went to a prison near Panama City, Florida, where he's doing 5 years for running his own ring.
You can start out at 8 o'clock in the morning and be cashing a check at the bank at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Having washed it, dried it,
everything,
rewritten it?
A bunch of crisp $100 bills in your back pocket.
The first step is getting the checks by stealing people's mail. Take a look at this undercover video shot by postal inspectors in 1990. A Florida man who authorities say was involved in check fraud pries open an apartment complex collection box and starts pulling out letters. Olin Singletary had a different method. He cruised nice neighborhoods early in the morning, looking for mailboxes at the end of driveways with the flag up. A signal not only to the postman, but to a thief.
If there's any mail in there, snatch the mail out, close it, put the flag back down, and drive along.
Once they have your checks, the next step is to wash them. Olin Singletary says he learned the formula by trial and error. The key, he says, is to find the right mix of solutions, to wash off the handwriting, but not the check's printed material.
How long did it take you to come up with the right mix?
A day or two. I mean, I figured it out.
So this wasn't the toughest thing in the world?
It don't take a rocket scientist.
By this point, we were eager to see for ourselves how check washing works. Postal Inspector Jose Gonzalez agreed to show us. He set up 3 trays that he filled with chemicals available at any hardware store. Total cost, less than $10. In order to keep the formula secret, we agreed not to tell the names of the chemicals.
Now we have a check here made out to the ABC company.
All right, sir. You see right there, see how the ink is actually starting to lift up.
Yeah. Or just instantaneously, you can see it is already starting to blur.
See right here. Shake it up a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
It literally is lifting right off the paper.
Yes, it is.
And yet, the printed material, the name of the bank, the name of the account number, I mean, all of that is still there, so that hasn't been destroyed at all. It's just the ink.
Right.
Inspector Gonzalez says that many check washers use a hair dryer or iron to get the wrinkles out. But we let the check just air dry on a paper towel. Incredibly, the entire process took less than 30 minutes.
And here's our washed check. I mean, there isn't a trace of ink on that. And without a blow dryer, without an iron,
we just allowed it to air dry.
You can see all the original watermarks in it and the printing. Looks like a check to me.
Brand new.
Ready to write and cash.
And yes, sir.
Once crooks have a blank check, they're ready to fill it out. They often write on the memo line something like carpet installation to make it look more authentic. Getting the original signature back on the check is the trickiest part. Before they wash it, they usually take a photocopy of the signature and later just trace right over it. But Singletary used a special tracing device with a plastic point on one side and a pen on the other.
So John Smith over here, and you're writing it right over that, and this little accordion pen is writing John Smith on the check.
Just writing it on the wash check. The check is washed, ready to go.
Once the check is rewritten, the next job is to get the money. Recruiters go out to find people to cash the checks, generally day laborers who look presentable. The check is made out to them or to cash. These cashers often use their own name and ID at the bank and generally get 23% of the profits for their trouble.
How did you feel when you made all that money?
Everybody feels good when they got a pocket full of money. I'd never seen the victims. You know, I know they worked hard for the money, but I don't think they was going to miss what we took.
You almost sound like you didn't feel at all guilty about this.
I mean, it ain't something I'm proud of, but I ain't going to lose any sleep over.
Experts recommend that the best way to protect yourself is by actually going to the post office when you send out your checks. They also suggest you write checks using thick, dark ink and use tamper-resistant checks that discolor when exposed to chemicals. As technology becomes more sophisticated, it is getting easier and easier for crooks to pull off other relatively simple homemade scams. In 1999, authorities became aware of a new trend in counterfeiting, and the perpetrators were an unlikely bunch. In Michigan, a retired auto worker and his teenage daughter. In New York, a small businessman. And in Massachusetts, a pair of 17-year-olds. Just a few examples of a new kind of criminal, the amateur counterfeiter.
It reaches all the way across the age and economic strata of society.
Ever since there's been paper money, there's been counterfeit money. But the problem is growing thanks to cheap technology. It used to be, to get into the counterfeiting business, you had to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a printing press, expensive paper, and a lot of green ink. These days, officials say it takes little more than a personal computer and $500 worth of printing and scanning equipment.
The same programs that will draw pretty pictures, make greeting cards, you can use to